Time to chat to... Blah. Time to chat... I haven't spoken in about an hour. You can tell, can't you?
You are listening to Freshly Squeezed.
I wrote one Stirring the Gravy the other week. I was messaging someone Stirring the Gravy and he triggered me off on something, so I just sat there for 5 minutes and wrote a song.
Pineapple.
Hello, my music-loving friends. I'm Jim, and this is Freshly Squeezed, a new music showcase where you can find your next favourite band. We do this every single week, and this week, 4 bands lined up on this episode. You're going to love every single one of them. They are quality. As always, you can get in touch with your recommendations for acts to feature. Slide into my DMs on social media, or even better, leave a review or a comment on the podcast. I will catch them there. I will pick up your recommendations. But don't do any of that before you've checked out this week's show, which features an awesome band with a hell of a story to tell, who are poised to release their sophomore album in just a few days' time. Exciting. We're going to hear from the Jacques in a bit.
Ramona, won't you take my hand? I'll be the best I can be. I don't have a ridiculous plan. I want you obviously.
Speaking of album releases, the debut solo LP from Yon Mon dropped on Friday just gone. We'll catch up with Roy on that in a bit.
Every day I think about you. Cherish every memory with you. You and me, we are brand new. You and me, we stick like glue.
There's a cool musical cameo to talk about on that album as well. We'll get into that when we get to that. We're also going to hear from the band who share their name with a Filipino news website. If you're Googling it, which is confusing, Manilla Times. More on them later as well. But let's start off with a trip to the home of iconic musicians. More than you can count, the likes of the Beatles, Echo and the Bunnymen, Cast as well. We are heading across the Mersey to Liverpool to chat to Jamie Higgs. Jamie Higgs, welcome to Freshly Squeezed.
Cheers, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
First off, before we get into anything else, I want to talk about this moment. So that is you in front of thousands of Liverpool fans celebrating the title win. How did that come about? What's going on there?
Yeah, so obviously firstly it was a very surreal moment and very proud of it. I was gigging at the match, literally every game, every home game. I used to do the fan zone a lot. Obviously Liverpool were pushing for the title and it looked like we were going to get it against Tottenham on that game. So the idea came up about doing something on the podium above where the coach comes in, because you know a lot of people gather to watch the coach come in. So they were expecting a large crowd. So they came up with the idea. I was fortunate enough to be the one who was picked to do it. And then we had a good time, yeah. It was quite difficult, to be honest, because we had 2 12-inch speakers or something like that, and there was, as you say, there was thousands of people there. So it would kind of be like me starting a song, and then the crowd would kind of take over a bit. But it was a great moment.
What an experience that was. I'm assuming you're a red, you're not a secret blue, kind of undercover.
Absolutely red all the way through.
Did that give you a taste of kind of where you want to take your music? Because I'm assuming that where you are in your journey, you've not played to that many people before, but there you are, playing your tunes, having people singing back at you. Does that make you go, I want a bit of this for myself?
Yeah and no. So if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't say it was like in the top 3 to 5 gigs I've done in terms of crowd reception and involvement, like just straight up buzz. It was more the fact that, like you say, it was epic. We won the league that day. It was like historic. It was all kind of that factor. The fact that I've been a Liverpool fan my whole life, I've gone to the ground my whole life. To get to do that was unbelievable. But in terms of like feeling like a superstar type of thing, my own headline show was just on another level. I think everyone who was at that show as well, that was back in June. I think everyone who's at that show knows as well. It does something next level about that. We had a couple of session musicians playing with us. Between them, they must have played like over 500 gigs. And even they said, like, you've never had a gig like it. It was just unbelievable.
Epic. So we're going to talk about your new tune, Peace in Your Sound, which now, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think this is your first release since your debut in 2023, is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a relaunch.
I was going to say, what have you been doing? 2 years, 2 songs? that's hardly Manic Street Preachers level of output.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Jim, it's kind of worse than that. So the Unconditional took about a year and a half to get out because we started and then the pandemic happened and there was like a very like sort of weird spell where we'd get in, do a bit, then wouldn't be able to get in for weeks. So then when you get in, it feels like you're starting again because like, where were we? So it took like a long time to get Unconditional song finished, to get that released. And I was doing it with a mate as well, so it wasn't like we were doing it in like a rehearsal room rather than in a proper studio. So that was like a mad project. And then when we got that out, the instant I released it, I kind of thought to myself, that's not the style of music I really want to be known for because it's like a very soft song, which I'm very proud of it. It's a very emotional and meaningful song to me. But then once I kind of put that out there, I was like, no, I want to be a bit more, not party atmosphere, but I want to bring a bit more fun, a bit more enjoyment to the stage. So then we started the project of building more of an upbeat set list and acquiring a band. So then all that takes a long time. Yeah, it's just a long process. And then we eventually got it out. I'm buzzing with it. And we've got like quite a few songs now ready to get going. I want it tomorrow, Jim, but it's a slow process and you've got to build it. And we're excited how it's going. Everyone who listens to our music enjoys it. And we're building like a good bit of excitement and energy around us. So we just want to keep pushing with that, just one step at a time.
One of the things that hit me about your music when I heard it was your voice. You've got this kind of really soulful, slightly gritty tone, I guess. It reminds me a little bit of Richard Ashcroft, actually. How did you find your voice? Was that just like what happened naturally when you started on this journey?
Firstly, it seems like everyone who's like musically inclined, like works on radio, whatever, loads of people have mentioned Richard Ashcroft, so that's like an interesting that you said it as well.
Not a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, well, it shows he's all know what he's talking about, so yeah. But I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, it was just natural, I think. I didn't even start playing until I was like 19, didn't really start singing until I was like 2021. So it's just kind of in your bedroom singing little bits and then getting into the cover scene and doing like the cover gigs has really helped me find like my stage presence and my vocals because in your bedroom you can sing kind of like very dainty and elegantly and it works. Do you know what I mean? If you're not recording on your phone or in a studio, but you go into a live audience and you try and sing like a dainty little song, it's so easily lost. Even if it's a beautiful song and you're a beautiful singer, unless it's the right room, it just gets lost. And I think that's what kind of made me change my singer-songwriting style and go for a bit more, like you say, soulful. I always say open. It's like you open my vocals and like push them out. And I think it just helps in like a live setting.
It's interesting that you didn't start playing guitar till 19 because that's pretty late to life to come to this kind of thing. What was before musically? What was happening? Were you listening to this stuff, but there were no ambitions to kind of ever pick up a guitar? What inspired the start?
The inspiration just come from seeing my mate play guitar. I'd only met him like the year before. Yeah, I just seen him playing guitar at a house party. I don't even think I'd ever seen anyone play a guitar like with my own eyes. I just don't think if I had, I'd never registered it. I just watched him. I was just like, that's boss. I was like, teach me something. And then he taught me like one chord and then I got my dad to buy me like a little guitar for Christmas. It wasn't like an expensive one or not. And then just all the time, it just escalated. It was a bit like I just fell in love with it. But before that, it was just, I was into like rap. I was into like Tupac and Biggie and Jay-Z and that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. It's like the whole indie music scene kind of come from nowhere for me. So, I was loving it like, but I didn't see it coming. If you told me at 18 I was going to be a singer, I'd have laughed at you.
You can hear that kind of R&B hip hop influence in your music. It's got that kind of that groove to it. So there's clearly some of that early inspiration kind of just following through into what you're doing now.
I would say so, yeah. Like I've wrote like rap songs and stuff myself, so it's something I probably will incorporate into our set a bit more. I definitely want to bring, because at the minute we've got the last couple of gigs we've not done any of the rap songs, and I do want. If I say rap, it's not really rap. It's like Ed Sheeran singy rap. I love it. It's like I say a part of what I grew up with, and I think if you do it right, as Ed Sheeran proved, it can really hit.
Excited to hear what comes next and the new stuff you're doing and what direction you take it in. But for now, the focus is on Peace in Your Sound, which it's a really interesting sentence, that Peace in Your Sound, or collection of words. And obviously it's up to people who hear the tunes to take away what they want from that. But what does Peace in Your Sound mean to you?
I mean, I love the way you've worded that, because I keep getting asked about it and I keep thinking, am I talking about it too much? Because I just want people to take what they want. But I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's peace in your sound. Life's loud. Like, I think the first line in the song is, "Oh, this life, it sings like a song. Sometimes it's loud." My life's very chaotic. Like, you're probably in the background, my missus making cereal for the kids. It's constant. But I kind of found I love the hustle and bustle. I love the busyness. I love the fact that my work is singing and it's loud. I come home and the kids are here and it's loud. I spend time with my mates. It's somewhere loud. Like, just always noise going on. But it's the soundtrack to your life, isn't it? So I think once you kind of accept that life is hectic and busy, and once you find your peace in your sound, it just makes us all so much better.
Jamie, it's a nice tune and pleasure to have you on Freshly Squeezed.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you very much, Jim.
Knew that from Jamie Higgs, Liverpool's answer to Jerry Cinnamon, I reckon. Really enjoying what he's doing. So, from new tunes to brand new albums, an LP that will be in the world very, very soon. It's the latest from the Jacques, and Harry and Finn from the band are on to talk about it. How do, boys?
Good. Yeah, well, thank you.
So, Make Repetition, new album out at the end of this week, 4 days' time. What's the energy like in the camp at the moment? How do you feel at this point in a campaign? Are you relieved that you kind of finally get the album out there? Do you have last minute nerves? Do you kind of go, oh, we need to make a change quickly? What's the kind of emotion like?
Well, I got a bit nervous when you just said that because I hadn't realised it was so close. I knew it was close, but 4 days is quite a number. I'm not nervous as such. I think, no, relieved is the one, because, like, as me and Harry have been saying earlier today, like, we worked on this for ages. And so there's a lot of the songs are like, you know, we've written loads of stuff in between. And it's always the case, it seems to be, whether it's in this band or whether it's in all bands, like, you're just always kind of like gunning for the next thing. And like, it's like, but we love the record that we've made. And also we're going to be really, like, we want everyone to hear it and see it, because we're the only people who really knows how it sounds. So yeah, it's really exciting.
I want to talk more about the album itself and how it sounds, for that matter, in a second. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about Pill and John Lydon, because you've recently come back off tour there, and that just feels to me like it would be a crazy, intense, otherworldly experience. Was it like that?
It was crazy and intense for probably reasons that you wouldn't expect, like probably unrelated to the fact that it was with John Lydon, who was nothing but lovely to us. So that side of it was completely fine. It's not always like a tumultuous time when we go away and do something, but it can be sometimes. And we did have a bit of we had some crazy episodes on the tour with Pill, but
I feel like you can say, Harry.
If we've got time to elaborate, then
yeah, go on.
You can't be so cryptic.
It feels like you're saving it for a book at some point.
No, we've spoken about it a few times, so I'll sort of skim over it. But we're in a situation on the tour with Pill where we were in Europe and we were left without our equipment or any means of transport after the first night, and we had 2 or 3 more gigs in consecutive days that we had to basically figure out how we were going to get across Europe to make these Pill shows, but we managed to pull it off.
You know, we had to hire everything basically because our stuff got stolen
and borrowed stuff, but it was good fun.
In terms of adversity, that is a story that's probably on the lesser end of the scale for you as a band. You've had a few elements of disappointment, some tragedy as well with the death of your bandmate Will. How much has that, what happened around the release of the first album or just before the release of the first album and then COVID hitting, how much has that led to the pause between album 1 and this one? Because 5 years is a pretty big gap to leave in general.
I think, to be honest, I mean, so just to like briefly cover the Will thing, we kind of knew that he, as much as it's like feels impossible at the time, he would have wanted us to carry on. So we actually did start carrying on pretty, we had about 5 or 6 months rest, if you can call it that. And then we just started doing it again because we were like, well, he didn't want to ruin this. But actually I think probably the bigger factor was the COVID thing. I know it's boring because so many artists have the same story, but we like set out on our first UK headline tour in February 2020. So it was kind of doomed. And then we had to put our album out in COVID as well. It was quite a massive setback. It was just awful timing. And then the new record, actually, to be fair, the record that we're about to put out, we could have had it finished a lot earlier, but other sort of personal issues kind of got in the way. And we kind of went on a bit of a hiatus, to be honest. And then we kind of bounced back and decided, we've got, there's hardly anything left to do. Let's just finish it and put it out. And if that's the last thing we do, then so be it. But now the energy between us is like, oh no, that is nowhere near the last thing we're going to do. We have so much more in us that we want to give. It is a long time between the first and the second album. But to be honest, whatever we do next is going to happen almost straight away. We just feel so creative at the moment that that's all we really want to do.
We're going to play Ramona on Freshly Squeezed, which is the latest release off the album in terms of singles. It's a bit of an indie pop bop, this one. And I was going to say It's not typical of the album, I don't think, when I listened to it. But then when I listened through the album, I was like, what one song could you pick that would be typical of the album? Because it is so eclectic. I think it's impossible to kind of pick one tune and go, this one sums up the LP. Is that how you feel? Do you feel like it's got all these different gears going on?
Yeah, totally. I want to answer your question though. I want to pick one. I think me and Harry could pick one each. Okay, so I think I've got mine. It's good. So mine is actually a bit of a wild card. It's Nobody Else I Know, just because it's got the super sweet poppy kind of chorus and mid late and stuff, and then there's this bit in the middle which goes kind of like a bit psyche. It's a difficult question. It's hard to pick one, but that, I reckon that's my pick.
Well, it would make sense that Harry 100% agreed on. If it was atypical of the album, then it would make sense that Harry was just like, exactly, mate. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I'm not really sure because I've lived with the album in that I've listened to it a lot of times, but it's not so much in the distance that I'm sort of viewing it as like a project or an era because of the way that we recorded everything. So obviously think in terms of the singles, because that's sort of more like part of the mechanism of how you release an album. It's like choosing which ones to put out as singles. But I haven't really decided on one that I think I'll look back on and think is representative. But yeah, there are album tracks like Nobody Else I Know being one of them that we probably won't put out as singles. And maybe if we play them less live, maybe then those will be the ones that represent it a bit more, because that's the only place you can find them.
I just can't go 1,000 widows. Yeah, my pillow. Oh, it's cold, yeah, it's cold, yeah, it's cold, yeah, it's cold, yeah, it's cold.
One more that I would say, not stylistically, but in terms of just general optimism, because I think it's a very optimistic album. Nothing Amazing, which is the final track, when we play it together, which we've only just started doing, it feels quite emotional, and it's just really, optimistic. I'm not going to try and find another word because optimistic just works.
If you really want it, you want me persuaded, you're looking for something, I'm not feeling amazing, but I was afraid for so long.
I've got to say, it's a pleasure to listen to. It feels like a really brave album, and when you listen to it, I was constantly surprised by what was around the corner, and I think that's a really nice thing to get that you don't always get from music and albums, that kind of gear shift that it had. And 1 minute it felt like early Blur, and then Last Shadow Puppets, and then Squeeze, and then Talking Heads. It had all these different kind of vibes going on, and it was like a real journey through it. So I really enjoyed that personally. I want to finish this interview with a quote that you gave in an interview in 2015 for Gig Sluts, and I want to kind of reflect on that for a moment, because you were asked in that interview where you wanted to be in 5 years. So 2015, that would have taken you through to 2020. You've already touched on what it was like for you in 2020. Do you remember what you said?
I don't actually. I'm not going to pretend that I do.
You said in 5 years' time, you wanted to be in London, making just about enough money to have the time of your lives. I want to check in. How are we doing versus that dream? You've had an extra 5 years now. So how's that going?
We're nearly there.
Okay.
We're nearly there.
Yeah.
That's quite a good quote, though. I can't remember saying that, but I think we're nearly there.
If we were going to set another target for another 5 years, which will be 2030, which seems absolutely mental that we're talking about things that could happen in 2030, what are you saying then? What do you want the goal to be by the time we get to that point?
To be honest, same one, but just more shows and a constant outflow of music.
I'd like to be able to support myself just through music and to not have to juggle different jobs to make the music happen. If we can do that, amazing. If I end up slightly closer to that, then that's also fine.
Right, we'll lock it in. We'll speak in 5 years, see exactly where you are along that journey.
Yeah,
but
nice.
I've got to say, the story of the band already feels like some kind of coming of age film, and the only way for that film to really finish properly would be with a hugely successful album. So I have my fingers crossed for you on that, because the album deserves it. Finn, Harry, lovely to chat. Cheers for coming on Freshly Squeezed.
Jim, thank you so much. You're such a legend. Thank you for everything you said.
I got a big bad secret and my friends won't like it. I'm a wreck, my heart is on the floor. Cause I'm in love, I'm helpless and they know so well that they won't see me and won't open the door. Cause I'll be hiding on my weekends, faking different reasons just to hang around with you. Already lied about my tickets, hoped up off a couple tunes. Ramona, won't you take my hand? I'll be the best I can be. I don't have a ridiculous plan, I want you obviously. Ramona, Ramona, oh baby, can I see ya? Ramona, Ramona, you tugging on a tangle of my heart.
Oh, hang on a minute. Let me just turn this off. Hang on. That was a little bit of the new album from Yon Mon. The first track actually on that album, featuring none other than the gravelly voiced MC Tunes. And we can find out more about that in a bit, because Yon Mon, aka Roy Fletcher, is on the podcast. Good to speak to you, mate.
Always, Jim. Always a pleasure, my mate.
So I want to do this chat slightly differently, because I think your story is slightly different to a lot of the artists I feature on Freshly Squeezed. Most of the bands I speak to, they're kind of at the start of their journey. They're new and they see music as the thing that they want to do forever. They want to do it as a living. They want to be big. They want to be famous. For you, I think it's slightly different. I don't know how old you are, Roy, but I'm guessing you're kind of like, you're past 40 like me. You're kind of that age. And
I was 49 last week, Jim.
there you go, 49. I think you're approaching music for a very different reason. You're not seeking fame. You're not seeking fortune.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, I do it for my mental health. I do it as an escape from work, and I do it for fun and games.
What I think it would be really great for people to hear and for people to understand is what that actually means for an artist like yourself, following something for the sake of passion, for the love of wanting to do it, what it means in terms of putting an album together. I mean, what does it look like when you're balancing music, but also life, work, everything else? How do you carve out that time to do the thing you really care about?
Well, I work for myself. I'm a paint and decorator, and I have a few lads who work for me. So I'm pretty highly stressed anyway at work and deadline like that. But my stress relief is going in the studio or playing live and just forgetting about everything. And as soon as I go in with Danny I for a few hours at the Ivy studio in Bolton, I just forget about everything. I come out of there just feeling really refreshed, and so it's a bit of a mind thing for me. Obviously with the sheds, it was like we were doing it for a laugh and what have you, and then we started getting a bit of attention.
Mm.
Then you start thinking, oh, we're getting good at this and that, and but you come across a lot of disappointments, and we weren't prepared for them disappointments, if you know what I mean. But second time round on my own now I am, you know what I mean. So I'm just gonna let it ride, and whatever comes comes, and whatever goes goes.
Does that almost, when it does get a little bit more serious, does that almost take any of the pleasure away from it? Because you have to be more focused, you have to be more driven, you can't just do it for the love of doing it.
I think so, yeah. Obviously, in the industry, you get promised this, you get promised that of promoters. We had a few disappointments, and we got promised festivals and stuff, and just never coming off. That's why we put our own gigs on, you know, to get people together and enjoy it that way. We always said as a band with the Sheds, once the fun stops, stop. And when you start knocking with your mates that you've been mates with for 30,
Yeah.
35 years, it's not about that. It's about bringing people together in the love of music at the end of it.
Well, it sounds like from the new album you are loving it again, you're enjoying it again.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it, Jim.
In terms of financing something like this, obviously you could have stuck out a digital version of this album. You could have kind of mitigated the risks. You still have your production costs, but in terms of banging something on Spotify, that's fairly easy to do. But for this,
Yeah.
you've taken the decision to create a proper vinyl version of the record, CDs as well. Why was that important for you to do?
Because I'm an avid collector of vinyl and CDs. I've been since I was about 10-year-old. I just think the vinyl aspect of it, especially, is a bit more personal. I'm still rooting through charity shops now, you know, looking for vinyl, feeling vinyl, smelling vinyl. It's just a personal thing, and I think the physical's always better than the digital stuff, and I think it sounds better on vinyl as well. So I think I've just broke even anyway. I think I've got about 10 vinyls left, so I've not done too bad.
Happy days, but still time to get one. If anyone's listening and goes, I need one in my life, then they can still get out and get one.
Yeah, it's exclusive to Wax and Beans in Bury,
There you go.
www.waxandbeans.co.uk. I think there's about 10 vinyl left and about 40 CDs, I think.
It's really cool to hear, and it's interesting that the way you speak about this record as a very personal record, because I think you can hear that when you listen to it. It feels very honest, and it touches on some topics that are clearly important to you as an individual. The state of the UK, mental health, racism, they're all really kind of big topics to tackle, and I think it almost makes the album mission-led, for want of a better phrase. How do you start with those ideas? Do you kind of think, right, I've got something to say about X, or I want to say something about Y and build from there? Or is your starting point the music, like you come up with a riff or a chord progression, and that kind of speaks to you and informs the message?
It's just the lyrics. I'll tell you what, Jim, gardening's my biggest one. Every time I'm doing the garden, I write a song. It's
Right.
when I switch off from work. As soon as I switch off from work, something comes in my head. And obviously, being a paint decorator, I meet so many different people every day in my life from all sorts of religions, all sorts of backgrounds. And I get their points of view, so I'm a bit of a sponge for information on that. So they inspire me as well, just normal everyday people. So that's why I write about the government. That's why I just write what I see, Jim, and what's going on in the world. I wrote one staring the gravy the other week. I was messaging someone staring the gravy, and it was Stevie Ness who messaged me, and he triggered me off on something. So I just sat there for 5 minutes and wrote a song, and I sent it him straight away. So I just wrote that while I was like you were texting me. So yeah, it's just madness. It's mad how it comes, but it's always the lyrics with me first, and then I'll have a rhythm in my head, and then I'll portray it to Danny, and then we'll just come up with it. But it's always the lyrics first.
That is the most Bolton statement I think I've ever heard in my life. Wrote a song while I was stirring the
I
gravy.
went backwards, but yeah, I went backwards, mate. I'm a bit backwards anyway, so but yeah, man.
So on the record, you've also got, obviously you mentioned Danny, formerly of the Jade Assembly, who's produced it, you've written it, but you've got MC Tunes on this record as well, a legendary Mancunian. Most will know him from 808 State, The Only Rhyme That Bites. How did that come about? How did he get involved?
I approached him with the Shed project in around 2020. It was our second single, One Shot, and I wanted a remix of it, and I sort of knew tunes anyway. And it was his girlfriend who approached his girlfriend approached us, and then I said, would he be interested in a remix? So she said, yeah. So we got him in, did the remix. Then we got him DJing before our gigs. Then we got him on stage. So he's just turned into a brilliant friend. And then I had that Better Days tune, which is a bit political, and he's a bit political too, and a bit of a bit of a mad guy, like, you know. So he'd been out all night. He'd been to an Hacienda Classical gig doing that. I picked him up. He was rough as anything and did it in 2 takes. Boom. He did that and selfie in 2 takes.
Check yourself before you wet yourself. Check yourself before you wet yourself. Check yourself before you wet yourself.
He's just a diamond guy, but a really clever guy as well. A really intellectual guy, and I respect him loads.
Nice one, Roy. Well, you better believe, new record from Yon Mon. It's out now. 10 copies left. If you're quick, you can get a physical version, but it's on the streaming platforms as well. What do you want to play? What do you want to play from the album?
I'd like to play Each Day because it's probably the most personal song on the album. It's a bit of a love letter from me to my wife, so, and she likes it as well. She actually, I was playing the album last week in the conservatory, and she come in and said it's brilliant, that, and I think that's the first time she's complimented me in 20 years. So it must be all right.
We'll get it on. Roy, pleasure as always, mate.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thanks for your support as always, and good luck with the podcast.
Every day I wake up next to you. The first thing that I say is I love you. We're together and forever. Cherish every moment together. You and me, we are brand new. You and me, we stick like glue. I love you more and more each day. I love you more and more each day.
If you want a copy, physical copy that is, you need to be quick. Could be down to 9 by now, so be quick if you want it. The copies are all numbered as well, which is always a cool thing. Right, one more act to go on this episode of Freshly Squeezed. That is Manilla Times. Jack, Jason and Ollie are going to chat about their new stuff. All right, boys.
Hello. How are we doing?
Very good. We're talking brand new music, and we're talking the brand new single, Soft Boy McCoy. Loving this one, and musically, a little bit more pointed, a little bit more spiky than what's come before. It's almost a little bit Fontaine's DC. I'm interested in whether the success over the last kind of 12 months or so of a band like Fontaine's DC has made a band like you maybe realise that music doesn't need to be quite as polished. It can be a bit punky, it can be a bit rough and still cut through.
Yeah, I would say so. I suppose it's a general direction of guitar music at the minute, isn't it? Like, it's all a bit more rough and ready, kind of punkier. And I would say definitely the other 2 lads on here are big into that kind of sound. I would say I'm not as keen on it as they are. At least I like it, but as always with us, we've all got quite different tastes in music, and I think that really helps us not be too focused in one area. And yeah, we try our best to try new things, and this seems to be the way it's going at the minute, and we're happy with it. Yeah, I think it's sort of musically it's gritty, and I think lyrically it's a little bit more sort of storytelling maybe than we've done in the past. So I certainly enjoyed doing a lot of the lyrics for it, and that's the way we're going.
How did you, Jason and Ollie, win the argument then? If Jack's like, no, I like things a little bit more cleaner, and you're like, no, we want it fuzzy, we want it a little bit lo-fi. How are you winning that discussion?
Ollie, do you want to say this?
I was going to say, you wrote the song, Jay.
Well, yeah, true.
From my perspective, I'd say, I think, yeah, it's what you're listening to. And I guess we take inspiration from that. I think this one, sort of Jay Sports the Table wrote it. We wanted a bit of a theme and there's a character behind the song. So naturally, it was a bit more rough and ready and a bit darker than some of the other stuff. Like Jack said, we've got such different music tastes between us. Me and Jay's more to that side. I think bringing that through blends in with our sound as well. With some of the other stuff we've got coming out over the next few months as well. They all sort of take inspiration from different bits, but come together in our sound as well. So I think it plays quite nicely to that.
You mentioned it has got this character at the centre of it, Soft Boy McCoy, as you're the artist behind writing this, Jay. We've all seen a Soft Boy McCoy knocking about town at some point, but in your head, is this based on anyone in particular? Is it based on one person, or is it just an amalgamation of those people you see knocking about town?
So the original inspiration actually for this came from, we had a gig in Islington Academy in October and November last year. And after the gig, we were in the pub. There's a big group of us. And there was this bloke who was on his own, but at every given opportunity was trying to bump into people to get them to start a fight. It was just very up for a scrap. And we all just kept ignoring him. And he just kept on coming back. And I was like, this guy, probably in his mid to late 30s, probably does this every weekend. It's probably something he's done since he was a young adult and maybe even younger than that, and maybe hasn't had the opportunities in life to sort of get out of that cycle of repetitive sort of taking his anger out on other people and being a bit defeated in life and blaming everyone else for it, I suppose. So then I had that as the idea as the kind of concept for the song. Then me and Jack, actually, I remember we were sat talking about this, and I'd written some lyrics about this character called Softboy McCoy, and Jack was like, there's some there, but I think I can make them better, which is usually the case. And we sat there and we had quite a laugh, actually, just writing or going backwards and forwards on various different ideas of this bloke that just life hasn't given him the best hand and he can't get out of this cycle. And despite everything he tries, he just keeps going back to the same things he knows. He never leaves his hometown. He just sort of, just loiters, causes trouble. Everyone knows who he is. He thinks everyone likes him, but maybe no one does really. But then with the kind of added sort of layer that actually everybody's like this. And, some people are fortunate enough to have the tools to get out of a certain situation or to be able to actually progress and do what they want with their lives, but other people maybe don't. And all of us are very close to it. A few bad things can happen and we're all back to square one. So it was kind of that just character perception concept thing that we were playing with, and it just ended up turning into quite a fun tune.
We had a good laugh with Alex Quinn in the studio when we were tracking the vocals for it, like coming up with like all the different kind of lines and stuff. It was definitely the most fun we've had. Imagining like scenarios and stuff. Like, sometimes when you write lyrics, you're really desperately trying to find the right lyric. And I think for this one, we had so many. Like, we could have talked about this guy all day.
There was an element of kind of Arctic Monkeys about the writing, I thought, and it reminded me very much of Storm and the character in that and the kind of world that's built around him. It felt that it was very much in that world where you do have that relationship with the song. You do know the character and you can identify it in that way. And it was really interesting to see the character brought to life in the video. One of the things I love about the video is there's some proper classic football casual gear on display. Jack, you've got the green kind of kneecap-esque tracksuit going on. There's some proper retro kappa tops on there as well. Whose wardrobe was it that got raided for the video? Whose club was that?
I'll admit that's the green tracksuit's mine. I'm surprised it fit Jack, to be honest. I think the hoodie's my girlfriend's actually, but it was the kneecap style, and I think the whole theme on that, alluding to sort of who Softboy was, and then we've got our mate Sam, who's an aspiring comedian as well, to play the character of Softboy. And yeah, we had a right laugh filming it. Obviously, trying to base it off the song. There were some scenes that were like are probably not appropriate for this video, but we were like we wanted to sort of embody that, but then also like a day in the life of this character. But I reckon the tracksuits, I'm trying to persuade the lads we all get our own custom tracksuits for the tour next year.
Oh, that has to happen. I've got to see that.
We are getting a bit carried away with it, I think.
Previously with tunes, you've had a load of success. You've had songs played on Radio 1 and stuff like that. Does that then become, once you've had that moment, does that become the barometer of success? So after you've had that Radio 1 play, anything that falls short of that level, does it feel like it's a slight disappointment, or do you almost have to reset your expectations with each song?
Yeah, it's weird. I think in general, like when we started out as this band, we had like dead basic goals. Like we wanted to play at a festival and, just play a couple of big gigs. And then once you've done that, it's like you're always looking for new targets or whatever. You're right. Like, once you land the Radio 1 or the RCE recommended list or any of those like high profile radio stations, it does feel like is the next tune not as good? But I suppose you have to remember that it's all subjective in the land of radio, right? Like what one DJ might like, somebody else might not like, and not every tune you release is going to be a hit, right? And I think you kind of have to just put the tune out there, and as long as you're happy with it and you like it, that's all you can control, right? Like I can't control if Chris Hawkins of BBC Radio 6 doesn't want to play it, he doesn't want to play it, right? Like I can't change that.
So you've dropped a couple of hints already. I'm putting the clues together. I'm like a Columbo type character here. You've said that this kind of is a sign of the new identity for Manilla Times going into this next body of work. You've mentioned an EP tour as well. I was going to ask whether there was kind of like a load of single releases coming, whether it was an EP, was an album, but I'm going to go out on a hunch and say it sounds like there is an EP on the way. Is that the case? Have we got that coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so this is like the new, I guess, the first single of that new body of work. We'll have a string of new singles coming out the rest of the year, and then next March we're going on tour. We're kicking off in Dublin, and then we're playing in London, Cardiff, and then Manchester as well. And the sound of the Softboy is the kind of character that sort of leads into the concept of these next few tunes. But Jay, you probably know more, like in terms of the.
Are we going full Pink Floyd kind of like concept album with it?
Jace would love that. There's a 10-minute track with no vocals on it. No, I think each of the tunes are quite different, but have a theme, and that they all sort of link back to who Soft Boy is in a way. So yeah, they're quite interesting, aren't they?
Some of the songs came before the idea, if that makes sense. So we had some songs which on the EP maybe we've had for a little bit of time, and then we wrote Soft Boy McCoy and a couple of others, and we're like, actually these could all link together with this concept of this character going through life and experiencing different sort of the trials and tribulations of Soft Boy McCoy. Is kind of what the EP is sort of leading itself into being. It's also quite a good name for an EP, that, isn't it?
That is a great. I was just about to say that's better than the current name we've got.
There is one tune on the EP that was we like recorded it backwards. So usually we have like a kind of scratch track vocal and guitar, and we'll drum to that and we'll build the tune around that. Whereas this time we done the drums before we had any lyrics. So we like tracked the drum and we kind of built the tune around the drum, and it was like a real different way for us to work. And when it came to it, a lot of people who've heard the tune think it's the best Manilla Time tune we've done. So it'll be really interesting to see when it comes out, if people like that one, if we'll do that kind of thing again.
Boys, lovely to chat to you. Looking forward to hearing more music and the EP, whatever title it happens to have when it arrives, when it drops. Good luck on the tour as well. All the details in the podcast description. People can find them there. But thanks so much for your time on Freshly Squeezed, and we'll get Soft Boy McCoy on Freshly Squeezed as well.
Nice one, Jim. Thank you.
Soft Boy McCoy, no one knows what the plan is. 4 years now on the seeker's allowance. The more he tries, the less he makes it happen. At 5'4", you could say he was stocky. Eats with his mum, but he lives with the bookie. He never buys around unless he's winning. He corners men at the bar in the jockey. Talks about his youth career and footy. He fell apart when he fell off the wagon. And if you think about it, everyone's the same, they don't change. Waiting for the weekend where his nose can meet his key. The only skill he has is Call of Duty 3. If he don't watch it, be living in debris of what it used to be. Race up on TV.
Bloody superb way to end this episode, and a bloody superb lineup as well on this week's podcast. Links to all the bands you've heard are in the podcast description. Now, obviously, I think you should listen to all their stuff, all those bands, but if I had to pick one, I would go for the Jacques' new album this week. It is a really cool record that takes you to so many different musical places. It is brilliant. That said, it's not out till Friday, so you've got plenty of time to check everyone out in the podcast description. The links are there. It is dead easy. Nice one for listening. Appreciate you. Do leave a review if you like this podcast, and even more importantly, tell a mate if you think it would be their thing as well. Cheers to your ears. See you for another dose of brand new music next week.
Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and hosted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McKinley. Theme music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.